Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, New Orleans, and welcome to the Good Morning Show. This is Will Sutton, and I am blessed. The Lord woke me up yet another day, made it through Monday and Tuesday, all the way to Hump Day. Yes, it's Wednesday, and it's a lovely, lovely, lovely day, wonderful, good-looking morning. And I am pleased to say that my good sister, Paula Madison, came back. So it
Happy
was
to be
okay
back.
yesterday,
It
huh?
was okay yesterday. I'm happy to be
All
back.
right,
See
all
you
right.
again one more again.
All right, all right, all right. Well, that's good. That's good. I am happy about that for all kinds of reasons, not the least of which is I get over to lean and touch and hug and and get some of that wonderful wisdom from your brain and share some time and share you with the WBOK family of listeners. So
Thank you,
y'all will
brother.
get a chance to learn some more about good sister Paula during the show today. And what a show we have to have for you today. Ooh, Lordy. There were a lot of things there are a lot of things that have happened in the last few hours and the last 48 hours. And we're going to be talking about that because there was action out of Baton Rouge with the congressional map. There was action with the clerk drama with a lawsuit being filed. And there also was more action in Baton Rouge with downsizing Orleans Parish courts. Something we thought wasn't on the chopping block now is back on the chopping block. And we had major news. According to sources for the TimesPicayune.com, the state police, Louisiana State Police, have agreed to pay $4.8 million in the death of Ronald Green. That is a lot of money, but is it enough for what the heck happened? Is nobody going to jail? Prison? I mean, this man didn't die. He was killed. He was killed.
And then they lied.
And they lied. And they covered it up. I mean, so I don't know how we can have the show this morning and not look at that and talk about that a bit. We also will be hearing today from Gary Hoover from Tulane University. He's written a book called Ladder or Lottery, Economic Promises and the Reality of Who Gets Ahead. Looking forward to that convo because it's one thing to talk about the economy and socioeconomic status and we need more jobs and all of that. Well, this brother's profession is looking at the deep dive in the weeds of what all of this means. And he's got a little different take on how we look at social contract, economic contract, whose ladder, where the rungs, where we start. So we're going to have a conversation with Gary Hoover about that. But I do want to take a few minutes before the show gets away from us. And let's get back to who's Paula Williams Madison.
Oh.
Just take a few minutes on that before we all of a sudden it's 2 minutes before 9 and we're out of here. So you shared a little bit with us yesterday about the Jamaican roots
Yeah.
and growing up in New York and that all. So if you don't mind, and we got a few minutes before we take a break, I would like you to touch base on those Jamaican roots and go into the amazing history that you found a few years ago
Oh, sure.
on another continent.
Right. Well, thank you, and I'm happy to be back this morning. So, what a lot of us in this country don't realize is that when slavery was abolished in the United States, that what we saw was throughout the U.S. and throughout England and much of the um, Western world, those who had enslaved Africans found themselves without enough workers. And so they went to two countries that had deep poverty and lots of people. Those that was available. They went to China and they went to India. So when you travel throughout the Caribbean, and sometimes you see folks who have a little bit of a different look.
Mm-hmm.
Now in Louisiana, it ain't that much of a different look, but for the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the country, it's kind of a different look.
Mm-hmm.
That's because a significant number of those folks are mixed with Chinese and mixed with Indian. So my grandfather migrated from China in 1905 to Jamaica at the age of 15. He was unusual because most of those men who did that to work the sugar plantations, right, were Chinese men who were married with families. My grandfather was 15, not married, no family.
Mm.
And a part of the reason why they wanted, the folks back in China wanted them to be married and have families was because it would bring them back. Their roots would be there, wives, children. My grandfather didn't have that. So he came into his manhood in Jamaica, and at that point, he had two women who were his partners. One was in one town, which was called Moco, and the other one was in another major city called Kingston. The Kingston one was my grandmother. As my grandfather matured, he had two shops, two mercantiles, two grocery kind of locations. And the tradition was to get a local Jamaican woman to be your partner in this shop because she knew the people, she could speak the language, she knew the culture, all the above. Almost always that turned into a sexual relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my grandfather's case, he had two women in two different locations, about 50, 60 miles apart, and therefore developed two families. My mother was the sole child of the partner he had in Kingston. Um, at her age of 3, my grandfather's parents in China sent him a Chinese bride to marry, sight unseen. He did that. He went to my grandmother and to the other partner in the other town and said, I'd like to raise our children with my Chinese wife in my household.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother said, hell no.
Right.
Not only hell no, but you ain't never going to see this child again.
Uh-huh.
And the other woman said, okay. And in exchange for the okay, he gave her the home, he gave her the shop, and they maintained a relationship for the next 20 plus years. My grandmother disappeared with my mother. So my mother grew up without her father, but she knew him up until the age of 3. So she spoke some Hakka. We are Hakka cultural minority in the world amounts to 80 million Chinese who are Hakka. I am one of those.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to pause or keep
Well,
going?
we're going to pause and we're
Okay.
going to pick up on that. We are going to get some of our news and information
Good.
after the break, but that's a good summary overview of what I know to be the case. But I think it's always fascinating when we have these conversations about not just who your mama and them, but who your grandmama, your great grandmama, who your granddaddy, and it's like, oh. Find out
Who
a
your
little bit
people?
more.
Right.
Yeah. Like my maternal grandfather, actually, longer story, but from New Orleans. My grandmother from New Orleans, fall out, go out to L.A. She found somebody. I don't believe in divorce. I'm Catholic. I can't do that. But I tell you what, you can move into the yard.
Oh.
So anyway,
Oh.
all kinds of different
That's
kind
different.
of families.
Okay, all right.
So,
Happy to know you, brother.
you're right. All right. Look, folks, it is 7:10 a.m. You got to be somewhere at 7:15. Then you got 5 minutes to get there. So if it's a 15 to 20-minute ride, you likely going to be late. But at least you can get there all in one piece and be safe because it's a school day on this Hump Day Wednesday. And when you got to get our babies and our kiddos into school where they need to get their education. So please, please, please slow down around the schools, 20 miles per hour school zone. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Times-Picayune, NOLA.com reporter John Zimmerman about the developments in the New Orleans Unified Clerk drama. Now there's a lawsuit. Do we have one clerk? And who is it? Or do we have two clerks? Well, there's a lawsuit to deal with that. And John Zimmerman is going to give us an update after the break. Meanwhile, there's a talk line number. People can call to get in on this conversation.
Sure.
What's that number?
Join us at 504-582-9422.
This is WBOK 1230 a.m. What New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Good Wednesday morning, I'm Daryl Forgis with WDSU News, and here's your headlines. After a marathon meeting that wrapped up at around 4:30 this morning, a Senate committee just passed Senate Bill 121 out of committee. This coming after they struck down one of the proposed congressional maps earlier this morning. Senate Bill 121 by Jay Morris passed with a 4-3 vote. It would keep one majority black district, that would be Troy Carter's. Passionate protesters rallied throughout the day Tuesday, saying they want the new map to reflect all demographics. The controversy of the clerk of court office continues, as Chelsea Napoleon is now suing several leaders over the future of her seat. This comes a day after Mayor Helena Moreno and the city council called for a special election and appointed Calvin Johnson as interim clerk. Johnson says he made Napoleon deputy clerk. Louisiana State Police have agreed to a tentative $4.8 million settlement with the family of Ronald Green. Green died during a violent roadside arrest carried out by 5 officers back in 2019. The settlement would end a federal wrongful death lawsuit filed by the family of Green, whose death drew national attention after videos show Louisiana State Police officers punching, kicking, and using stun guns outside the city of Monroe. The settlement now has to be approved by state lawmakers. And the NFL will unveil the full schedule of international games for the upcoming season, which includes a Saints game in Paris. Various media outlets like The Athletic report the Black and Gold will take on the Pittsburgh Steelers in the City of Light. The Saints have not confirmed this, by the way, but according to the reports, the game will be played on Sunday, October 25th in the stadium that hosted the closing ceremony at the 2024 Paris Olympics. I'm Daryl Forgis, and that's your headlines for WBOK.
Attention, WBOK listeners. Are you a fan of the station and want to show your support and style? Well, we've got some exciting news for you. Introducing the official WBOK merchandise, the perfect way to wear your love for the station. Whether you're a longtime listener or a new fan, we've got something for everyone. Head to WBOK1230.com now and grab your WBOK gear before it's gone. When you buy WBOK merch, you're not just getting quality items, you're supporting the station you love.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
I am Will Sutton, and with me is Paula Williams-Madison. Fascinating family story. A number of us have fascinating stories, but yours, whoo! And we'll talk some more about that because it didn't just end there in recent years. It's 7:15. You got somewhere to be at 7:15. You are late unless you are right there. And if you got a few more minutes to be there at 7:20, 7:30, you might make it depending on where you are in your journey. Before we move on, we want to go into conversation with John Zimmerman, reporter for the Times-Picayune, NOLA.com, because he's got news and information that you want to know about, because we've got a clerk drama going on. Good morning, John. You're on with Will Sutton and Paula Madison. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Will and Paul. How you guys doing?
All right. Well, Paula is in here for a couple of days, came yesterday, came back today. longtime friend and journalist, media mogul, and I could say other things, but we're on with you, John, because there have been quite a number of developments in the last few weeks, the last
Yes,
week, the
indeed.
last day, and now yesterday we got a new development. It's more than a wrinkle because there's a lawsuit that's been filed. Bring us up to date.
Yeah, I mean, this is the latest kind of legal turn in this saga now over who's going to be the unified clerk, if the legislature did the right thing, or if the new law that combined these clerks' offices is constitutional, and where we end up. But yesterday, Chelsea Napoleon, who has been the civil court clerk for a couple of terms, and now a third one, but is now under this new law adopting the responsibilities of the criminal clerk, which is abolished under this new law. And of course, Calvin Duncan won that seat. So we got a lot of legal wrangling going on in federal court, in state court, and this is the latest one. The judge up there has set a Monday hearing date for hearing that argument, which is basically that the city council on Monday overstepped when it appointed an interim in Calvin Johnson, the former criminal court judge, to oversee this unified office, and also called an election to fill the seat permanently. She's saying you can't do that. This is a state constitutional issue. It's for the legislature, and so that's kind of the general argument she has. So, but where this ends up, I think Louisiana Supreme Court at some point is going to have to step in, as perhaps the U.S. Supreme Court is going to have to step in. You can see the people are already loading up here with some pretty, some lawyers who may end up arguing, with the U.S. Supreme Court, or who have done so. So we'll see where this ends up.
So, John, I hear the essence of your summary of the essence of her lawsuit. She's been the civil court clerk for the last couple of terms, got reelected to a full term, and then Calvin Duncan defeated the incumbent criminal court clerk, Darren Lombard, to start work on May 4th. And, of course, there are a number of machinations where he started work and then stopped work with
he showed up that morning based on a TRO and sort of got to work, or got at least the tour of the office, but then there was a stay immediately afterwards. So began this kind of tug of war here.
Okay.
And it's a tug of war, not between Chelsea Napoleon and Calvin Duncan, of course. It's sort of between, folks in Baton Rouge and the legislature and New Orleans, right?
Yeah. And so just want to clarify with you for our WBOK family of listeners, Orleans Parish voters elected Calvin Duncan to be the clerk of criminal court, 68% of the vote. But as of this moment, Calvin Duncan is not our clerk, correct?
So it seems. Right. I mean, the new law is in effect. There's no, there are stays on these efforts to halt it, but currently the law is in effect. But then the city council steps in and sort of, they're saying that there's another competing law in state law that requires them to call an election when there's an open new clerk seat. They're saying this is a new seat. State is, Attorney General Murillo is basically saying this is the same seat, just with a new name, and Chelsea Napoleon's in it.
So I have a question, and it's going to seem a little crazy, I think, but I'm going for it. So the challenge that we're seeing from the present civil court clerk, who's now by law, depending upon what law we're looking at, the clerk, she's challenging that the New Orleans City Council has no oversight. If she's
saying they have no authority.
Right. If she were to, had she decided to not file this lawsuit, had she decided to just okay, I'm just not going to be a clerk. Would Calvin Duncan ultimately have a clearer road to being elected in November when the election happens, or is her position not that important to it because somewhere along the line, whether the governor or the state legislature, somebody would have challenged New Orleans City Council's actions?
Well, it's because she's kind of in a unique position to do it because she's the one most directly affected. So I think her lawsuit probably, is going to be on point. But, how it plays into this overall legal kind of drama with federal courts and state court, there's this guy, Gary Crockett, who's this U.S. Senate candidate who did a challenge in Baton Rouge, and he actually got a TRO that got stayed, and he's trying to get up to the U.S. Supreme Court with that. So, yeah, how much this lawsuit plays into, what court and when they finally determine who gets to occupy this seat, or whether this law is constitutional, I'm not really sure, to be honest. I mean, we have Calvin Johnson, the judge, who is ostensibly, according to the council, he's the interim here. Right now, that's the case. So, I think, somebody has to address this legal theory of the city council that they can step in on this. And, she's in a pretty good position to do that. I suppose somebody would. I suppose A.G. Liz Murrill, the Attorney General, might be able to do that. And she hasn't let too much slip by her on this stuff. So, but I don't know. But she jumped in there pretty quick, Chelsea Napoleon, and you could hear it. And when she was at the council on Monday, and they were talking about this, she was
fired up,
pretty combative. She was fired up for sure.
Yeah, I was just trying to get to the bottom of is she integral to this challenge? But it sounds like not.
It's a good question. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
we're going to find out. And which case will the state Supreme Court end up, trying to deal with this on? I don't really know yet. Will the federal courts say, you state Supreme Court, here are the questions you need to answer? There's questions about, Liz Murrill doesn't think the federal court should really be involved in this decision. So we'll see where it lands.
Okay. I know you got some other things to do. Just got a couple more questions for you. So who is the clerk?
We were asking that all day yesterday.
Who has the keys?
Currently,
who has the keys? Who has the official signature? And who's going to sign off on all of those employees' paychecks to say this is official and you'll see it in your bank account?
Well, Chelsea Napoleon was meeting with the folks who were handling the election, right?
That's
She's
correct.
now sort of the clerk of elections too. So she stepped in there and said, "Y'all can do what y'all gonna do, but I'm gonna do my job as I understand it." What's
we
interesting?
have not heard that Calvin Johnson has jumped in here and taken command of these offices. So I don't think he has done so. I think she's running the office. Who has the signatures? I guess that becomes an issue, and that's sort of what the arguments are here: is that you're letting this become an issue, but legal issues might jump up in this at this point. The DA, Jason Williams, has talked about, criminal records and, this possibly becoming an issue in cases. We'll see. I think this is going to get resolved pretty quickly. And we have an election coming up on Saturday.
Yep.
I'm not sure whether, what court wants to deal with it before then. But I don't know that they have to deal with it before the election necessarily. I think, the impression is, and Chelsea Napoleon is acting like she's in charge there. And I don't think anybody's really saying she is not at the moment.
Okay. Well, thank you, John Zimmerman. Thank you for rising and talking with us and our
Thanks a lot,
WBLK family of listeners. I know that you're up at this hours with kids in the house, but that doesn't mean you're on. So thank you for responding
I appreciate
to
it. I was
my
enjoying
request.
listening to this story that you were telling before I got on. So thank you for having me.
All right.
Nice
Lord's
to meet you.
blessings and have a great day. All right, folks, there you have update on the Orleans Parish Clerk drama. We've got a lawsuit filed. We've got a interim clerk Calvin Johnson, appointed by City Council. We have the elected Civil Court clerk who's now running a unified office, and we've got legal challenges galore. So we'll see what happens. So when we come back, we're going to hear from... Are we going to hear from Mr. Lewis? We're going... Okay. All right. We're going to hear from Mr. Hoover from Tulane University and his new book, Ladder or Lottery. But meanwhile, there is a phone number that people can call, but
Sure.
don't think you're going to call and get on right away and respond to John, because we're going into Gary Hoover's segment, but you can get on the line and get lined up, and we can come back to that. But here's the number.
The number is 504-582-9422. Call us.
This is WBOK, 1230 a.m., what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
The warm and dry trend begins for the rest of the week. Today we'll see highs 82 to 86 degrees. Mostly sunny skies eventually for us. Also slightly lower humidity. Some of us will be able to notice that. No rain is expected. Then as we get to tonight, lows falling to the 60s for your Thursday into the weekend. Also looking at the mid to close to some upper 80s. Could even see upper 80s, low 90s for next week. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Real issues, real talk, real solutions. Miss an episode of The Reality Check? You can catch every episode anytime. Search WBOK Media on your favorite podcast app to tap the bold commentary, real-time reactions, and powerful perspectives from the people and leaders shaping our city. Download, share, and rate it 5 stars, because the real ones always stay informed.
Life has a way of shifting priorities, changing needs, and pivoting plans. Home Bank is there for all of them. Their bankers partner with you for every step along the way, from understanding your needs to celebrating your success. Home Bank is invested in the vibrant spirit of our community and in you. So partner with them. Stop on by any banking center in the greater New Orleans area or visit home24bank.com to get started today. Good for business, good for life. Home Bank, a member of the FDIC.
City Park is where to go when you don't know where to go. Turn towards the city center and start walking. Before long, you'll end up where you belong, at the heart of the city, New Orleans City Park. Stroll along the reeded marsh, wander through the sculpture garden, rest and recharge beneath ancient oak trees. This is where your spirit goes to grow. It's in our nature to yearn for nature. NewOrleansCityPark.org, heart of the city.
I'm Cynthia Willard Lewis, and I encourage you to vote Nick Alvarez. He will protect Louisiana families and fight for lower health care costs for everyone. Vote Nick for U.S. Senate.
I'm Nick Alvarez, and I approve this message.
Well, Saints of God, this is Pastor David Impartan Sr. coming to you over the airways of WBOK, your favorite host of Change Your Water, Change Your Mind. I want to invite you to our show every Saturday from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m. That's Change Your Water, Change Your Mind. I want you to invite your family and friends to a broadcast that's designed to change your life, the way you think, the way you act, and what you eat. We want you to tune in every Saturday at 1 o'clock, WBOK, 1230 a.m. See you on Saturday.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, New Orleans, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I'm Will Sutton, and I am happy to be with y'all at 7:30 a.m. If you got somewhere to be at 7:30, you're late unless you're already there and fired up and ready to go. But if you're not, slow down. Please slow down. We got babies and kiddos on their way to school. School zone speed limit still in effect until 9 a.m., and that's 20 miles per hour. Not 23, no Michael Jordan number, and not 27, 31, and certainly not 41 in office hours slowing down. So it's only 23 miles per hour. Nope, got to be 20 miles per hour around those schools. Having as my co-host today is Paula Williams-Madison.
Good morning.
Fascinating sister. Wonderful story. You heard John getting all into your story.
Ooh.
Yeah, right.
Ooh, there's a whole lot more, bro.
I know there is. And we'll get to some of that on today's show, and then y'all going to have to look it up. But meanwhile, we've got Tulane University Professor Gary Hoover here in the studio, and he's got a book that you're going to want to know about, and an event coming up on Thursday at Baldwin and Company. But welcome to the Good Morning Show. Welcome to WBOK.
Thank you for both. Thank you both for having me over.
All right. So this is your first time at WBOK?
It is absolutely so.
Well,
yes.
welcome. And you're not a native New Orleanian, but you've been here for a bit. So let's start with who your mama and them, man? Where you come from?
So I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Ended up getting a PhD from Washington University in St. Louis. Spent some time as a professor in the University of Alabama. I've been at the University of Oklahoma. And now I have joined the great state of Louisiana, and I've been here at Tulane for a little bit over 5 years now. So.
Wonderful. So the time at Tulane, you're doing what?
The time at Tulane, I am the executive director of the Murphy Institute. And so what we're dealing with there is the intersection of politics, policy, and economics, which is all about what brought me here, what my driving mission is in life, and what the book's about.
So why Tulane with all of this background, this specialty? There are a number of other places you could be. And if I'm wrong, correct me. But I think there might be more people outside of New Orleans who know about that work nationally because of the type of work that you do. And so I'm glad that you're here to tell our WBOK family of listeners about that.
It's interesting that, Tulane sought me out precisely because of the types of work that I do. They had the Murphy Institute. It had been around for about 40 years, 45 years. Was still interested in the work, but didn't have the profile, right? It just did not have the reach. And so they said, well, let's marry these two together. We're already doing this type of work. We don't have the reach. Here's a person who has the reach, but not the platform that Tulane provided for me. And so it's actually been a really, really good coming together for both me and for Tulane, and actually for New Orleans, because a lot of the work we don't do anything out of the Murphy Institute that isn't public facing. So everything we do is open to the public, and we love community input on the stuff that we're doing and at all of our events. So it's been really good.
All right, so let's break it down for those of us who are not as skilled in expertise and having the expertise that you have. So if you walk out to the bus stop at Esplanade and Moss and getting on the 91 to go downtown, and you're sitting next to somebody and somebody says, "What do you do?" You could say all that, but if they only had like 10 seconds, do you say, "I'm a mathematician, I'm a statistician"? Do you say, "I'm an economic"?
Well,
what do you say?
I would say that I'm the person who explains how public policy interacts with markets. For instance, if you think about health policy, and we're thinking about RFK. RFK has changed health policy through his vaccine policies. That has had impacts on your health insurance premiums. So those are the types of things that I do. If you think about Linda McMahon, Linda McMahon has changed education policy. Those policy changes are going to have impacts on how your children will proceed into the job market and whether or not there will be loans available for them if they decide to go on to college. So somewhere there's a policymaker turning a policy lever. Somewhere there's a market what you are involved in, whether you know it or not, that is being impacted. I'm that person that ties those two together so I can connect the dots between what RFK did and how it's impacting your wallet.
So right now, one of the biggest, I'd say, impacts that we're experiencing is a guy in Washington decided to declare war. Not officially, but what we're seeing is the price of beef, the price of gasoline. Frankly, my fear of what's going to happen with not just young black men, but young black people, because I fear conscription. I fear the reinstitution of the draft. So all of these things that, while I'm sitting here watching the news and the Strait of Hormuz and all the above, it is affecting me on a daily basis, and it's affecting my pocket.
And let's not forget, this all started before the Iran thing. Let's not forget last year, tariffs, right? And what have we been going through? Even when gas prices weren't that high, we had other prices that were being affected through these tariffs. And interestingly, when I'm teaching, trade and economic trade, I'm saying, okay, look, you've got a whole bunch of levers that a policymaker could turn. And it used to be that I would put tariffs sort of somewhere at the bottom. I was like, yeah, we got these tariffs things, but no one's going to do that, right? That's just something at the bottom of the list. It's so bad. I'll spend 5 minutes. I'll teach you about those, and then we'll move on to more important trade topics. Well, now that's become front and center. So we're suffering in ways unimaginable.
So what kinds of students do you see who are interested in getting that deep into the weeds? And when they come to you, do they understand these connections, or you're there to help them make those connections?
What will happen to them is that they've had some introduction to the idea from sitting around the dinner table. They've heard mom and dad talking about these things, but they don't have any formal training. They just know something is wrong, right? So generally, what do you think, right? Before you see the fire, you smell the smoke. And you're saying to yourself, this is a signal. Now, I don't know where the fire is, but I'm smelling that smoke, and I know that there's something wrong, and I got to go and search this out. That's the same thing that's happening with the students who are coming in. They don't know what's causing this, but they know that something's wrong, and then they come to me, and I'm able to say, all right, let's go and see if we can find where the heat is. Let's see if we can find out what started this thing so that we can trace back and see if we can't figure out a way of putting this out.
So what does it take for average Joe and Joanne to make the connections with their daily life with something like the war in Iran, other than gas prices, and something like education policy that you might not see it like tomorrow or this week, but understand that this is a policy that is going to affect you if you have kids, if you have grandkids, nieces, nephews. What does it take to make that connection?
Examples. Typically, if I want to talk about education policy, all I got to do is go back about a dozen years or more, and then I can talk about No Child Left Behind. I say, look, remember No Child Left Behind and how that left some kids impacted by this policy and some didn't, and that put them on different lifetime earnings trajectories as a result of it. So this isn't the first time we've actually seen these types of impacts before. So if I can show you an example of where this happened in the past, that leads you to understand that history has a way of repeating itself, and we are seeing those things again. So that this isn't a black box mystery. We have seen the impacts of bad policy in the past, and unless we start learning more about how we got here, we'll expect to see it again.
So what I think is interesting in this whole scenario that you've laid out is not too many years ago, there was a great consternation over what was called Obamacare on the parts of some people. Obamacare. We don't like it. We're not going to do it. This is communism. All of that. And then it went into effect. And we have millions and millions of average, regular folk who benefited by having health insurance. And then it got pulled back. Within the past year or so, this president said he was going to do away with it. And they worked very hard to let it expire. And now we have many more millions of people who do not have the ability to afford health insurance. What I'm fascinated by is how do they reconcile that and then go to the polls and vote again for the people who took away their ability to maintain their health, the health of their children, their grandchildren, and children yet to be born, because the health policies that are in effect today will impact us for generations down the road. How do they talk about that?
But it's even more fascinating to that, because I deal with business leaders often, and you tell them, what is it that you're looking for in a local workforce? They're looking for two things. They're looking for a workforce that's trainable, meaning educated, and they're looking for a workforce that is going to be able to show up for work. The number one cause of absenteeism from a workforce is due to health problems.
Right.
So by providing people with health insurance, what you're actually doing is making that local workforce more productive. And then the next thing you say is, well, look, I need a workforce that is productive and is healthy so that they'll show up and be able to perform at peak efficiency, but I'm not willing to pay for it. Those are the two things that we find in policy that is getting cut the most: education policy and health policy. Yet the two things you're going to ask for from a local workforce is, I want them healthy and I want them educated,
right,
but I don't want to pay for it.
Right.
So then you really don't want it.
Right, because I got mine. I got mine. Too bad for you.
Right. But what they don't understand is ultimately this is going to come back to impact them, because where are you going to get your workforce from? Oh, well, I could bring in immigrant. No.
They went away. No. You shut down the borders on that one.
We can't have any immigrants either. So pick your poison.
Right. I would watch my oldest brother sometimes on the trading floor on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And I was always amazed at those guys who were on the floor trading in financial markets, how knowledgeable they have to be about all of these policies.
Yeah.
Because those policy changes directly affect how they're going to represent the financial markets, the trades, which companies are going to buy and sell this product or that. And I don't think that the regular people out here walking the streets understand that this is how you get to be in control. If you can understand the economies, if you can understand the policies, if you can affect those, right, then we have a greater chance of having better representation. But for right now, it's in the hands of, I will, facetiously refer to them as the House of Lords.
Pretty good.
Well, you don't want to get me started on that one, brother.
Okay. All right. So when did you come up with the concept, the idea for Lateral Lottery? I mean, was it a title and you decided to write? Were these notes, or was this some parts of your class teaching and you might want to put this aside? Because some of what you've described with your work at Tulane is pretty intricate, and I would imagine it's heavily historic and data driven. Might not necessarily be the most interesting reading for a general readership, but certainly for those like you who are like into that, and we kind of have a higher level of conversations and discussions. But how'd you come to the idea that, I want to do a book, but I want everybody to read it?
Right. Well, let me go back 50 plus years then. I'm going to go back to my childhood.
Okay.
And I'm going to explain exactly how the seeds of this book were planted back then. I'm growing up in Milwaukee, right? And I'm the child of a single mother. And I'm watching my mother work. Sometimes she had 2 jobs. Sometimes she had 3 jobs. So I'm watching this woman work herself, who actually ended up working herself into an early grave, and her her saying would always be, look, if you just work hard, you're going to get ahead, right? If you just work hard, you're going to get ahead. She would hammer that into us. And I would look, and I was like, look, we're not getting ahead. Now, look, this is not a disparagement on my mother. My mother worked as hard as any woman I saw. And so if that logic were actually true, then by my estimation, my mother should have been a millionaire. Heck, my mother should have been a billionaire if it were the case that just working hard was the key to getting ahead and moving up the economic ladder, as it were, from the title of the book. Then I never saw anyone who tried to climb as hard as she did. And so even back then, as a youngster, the seeds were planted to me to try and understand the dynamics of, obviously, there's individual agency, but there's also some systemic issues that probably were going on. Now, back then, I don't even know the word, what agency or systemic even means, but to those questions stuck with me through all of my economic training, that I was wondering exactly what is going on here and why is it that some people can work as hard as possible yet find themselves not climbing? Could it be that your ladder was there, but some of the next steps were too high to reach? Could it be that your ladder was there, but some of the rungs were broken? I didn't know those. I didn't have the language to articulate what it was that I was wondering about. But like I said about my students, I smelled the smoke, but I couldn't see where the fire was coming from. So I set myself off on a path to start educating myself, and this is where we ended up.
I'll go back 70 years and tell you that my mom said, mules work hard. No disparagement towards your mother, but understand, my mother started out by saying, you don't want to work hard, you want to work smart. Because when you see us toiling, and that's what she said, when you see us bent over toiling, it is very unlikely that we're going to end up at the top. So she said, you got to not be bent over. You have to stand up and figure out how to get to the top. But working hard is not what gets you there. What was interesting is in my years as an employer, when I managed so many people, and when the time came, unfortunately, where jobs went away or someone wasn't going to be with us for however long, cutbacks and whatever, and people would say, but I work hard. And to that point, for many of us as African Americans in this country, we are taught hard work. But you look over there at those guys, it ain't about hard work for them. That's not how they work. So the thing really is, your mother worked 2 and 3 jobs, as you said, worked herself into an early grave, and that was by design. They set us up for that.
So it was systemic. There was a system design. So yes, now I have the architecture to explain and talk about those things that I didn't then.
So one of the things you talk about in the book is the social contract. The impact on that social contract on economic and the ladder, so I'd like you to touch on what does that social contract look like these days compared to the social economic contract of slavery versus today's 2026 social economic contract.
Well, let's do this. Let's just change the term. We could say social contract, but that seems a bit high. Let's just say promise.
Okay.
So society makes a promise to you, and it says, hey, you know what? If you engage in these activities, I promise you that there will be some type of upper mobility. But what we're finding is the promise is often not fulfilled, or there are hidden landmines to the promise. One of the promises we say, look, one of the easiest ways to get yourself ahead, I promise you that if you get yourself educated, that you'll be able to move up this ladder. But if that's a true promise, then we would have also told people that, now, this education is going to be dependent on the zip code within which you live in. because that we know that to be true. But that part of the promise was we failed to tell that to folks. So if we're going to make promises to people, we're going to say that this is the steps you need to take to move up the ladder. We have to make sure that they are able to be fulfilled. Another promise we make, one of the easiest ways to move up this economic ladder is to become an entrepreneur, right? You become an entrepreneur. Walt Whitman says, look, build a better mousetrap and people will beat a path to your door. But the part that we failed to tell in that promise was that to be an entrepreneur, you need access to credit markets. And if the pandemic showed us anything, access to credit was not even, right? Racial minorities, women, and people in rural communities suffered. They absolutely were not.
Wonderful. Okay, so you've got a book talk and signing at Baldwin and Company on tomorrow.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. And does that cost money?
That is absolutely free, open to the public. Please come.
And who are you going to be in conversation with?
I'm going to be in conversation with the world-renowned Will Sutton. Right? And if you don't come hear Will Sutton, I don't have to talk, right? So it's going to be Will Sutton. And if you want to hear some engaging conversation, it's going to be Will all day, every day.
Oh no! This is going to be the Gary Hoover program, and I'll be a facilitator. And hope we'll have time for questions because this was such a rich conversation, and the one that really important to help us make these connections that people say government doesn't really affect me, politics doesn't really affect me. Well, you all about how it does.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So that's tomorrow night, May 14th, 6 p.m. Baldwin and Company. Gary Hoover, Ladder or Lottery. Come on out. We'll see you there. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we got to find out what the heck happened literally overnight. I don't mean last night. I mean last night into this morning, early hours. Looks like we're walking down the path of a new congressional district map. Well, or are we? We're going to see. We're going to talk to Public Service Commissioner Devontae Lewis right after this break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Andronica Morris, host of Put Housing First. Join us every Tuesday at 12 o'clock, where we will discuss how housing affects every aspect of our lives and what's necessary, what's needed to guarantee housing for all. Join us every Tuesday at 12 o'clock as we dig down deep onto the issues that affect all of us.
This is The Law and Your Legacy. I'm attorney Pete Hamilton.
I'm attorney Ryan Hamilton. Losing a loved one is tough enough. Do you really want your family dealing with court battles and paperwork on top of it?
Whether you choose a will or a trust, think ahead. Take care of your family. Let them focus on healing instead of headaches. This is not legal advice. That's just a tip brought to you by Liberty Bank and Trust. For more information, go to libertybank.net or contact us at 504-915-5016.
Interest rates and inflation are out of control. Is your credit card debt also out of control? It's time to resolve your debt and take back control for a lot less than what you owe. If you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt, then you need to call us right now. Debt Fix Pros can significantly reduce the amount you owe, and you could be debt-free faster than you think.
I knew we had to do something. Our debt was growing.
It was getting out of control, and we just didn't know what to do.
We saw an ad for Debt Fix Pros. We called, and they showed us how fast they could get us out of debt.
It really was amazing, and now we're back in control.
Call now, and we'll show you how easy it is to fix your debt. The call and consultation are free. Call Debt Fix Pros right now at 800-311-5977. That's 800-311-5977. 800-311-5977.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, New Orleans, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show right here on WBOK. Fascinating conversation with Gary Hoover of Tulane University and author of Ladder or Lottery. He's got a book talk tomorrow night at Baldwin Company at 6 p.m. Hope to see you there. Yeah, we need to make more connections with some of the stuff that's going on. It's
Absolutely.
like it's not just a new TV news clip. I mean, talking about real impact
Depth.
on people's lives. Look, we had a lot going on in Baton Rouge, and it's not just this one thing, but a lot more. But we're going to dive in and find out where we stand with redistricting in the state of Louisiana. It has become a national issue, and all eyes are on Louisiana. And we're going to check in with Public Service Commissioner Devontae Lewis. You're on with Will Sutton and Paula Madison. How are you, sir?
Well, good morning. I'm surviving, holding on. It was a very long day and morning. We've only been out of committee maybe about 3 hours, and I'm up here ready to talk with y'all.
All right. So what time did you arrive at the State House, and what time did you leave? And just go ahead and include whatever time you had to take care of something with putting some water on your face or grabbing a sandwich or a cold drink. How long were you there?
Let's say my day at the Capitol, I had some other business to take care of. Started at 11 a.m., and if my clock shows me correctly, I walked out of the building at 4:46 a.m. this morning. So it was a long haul, a long day, but when justice calls, you can't be tired.
So if I am inaccurate with this summary, please do tell me. But the kind of where we stand is that there were 4 maps being considered by Senate Governmental Affairs on Friday when they had the public hearing and hundreds of people showed up. They were expected to have the follow-up on Wednesday, but then it was moved to Tuesday. And so maybe not as many people would show up, but a whole lot of people showed up. And they had narrowed it down to a couple of maps, a 6-0 map and a 5-1 and a 4-2 map. But where they ended up was a 5-1, and the 6-0 did not move forward in committee. Is that right?
That is right. So we started Friday with 4 different versions of a map. As you said, yesterday they only considered 2, a 4-2 map that Senator Price offered that also was amended in committee that would have made, instead of having 4 majority white districts and 2 majority black districts, he amended that bill to create 4 majority white districts and 2 what we would call opportunity districts, where black Louisianians and minorities only made up 40% of a district's population instead of over 50% as his original bill proposed. And then Senator Morris only ran one of his 5-1 bills that would stretch a over 60% black district from New Orleans through the Mississippi River back to Baton Rouge, looking similar to the 2022 map that the legislator passed. But he also then did make another amendment in there that moved the portions of the geography around. And those are the 2 maps for consideration. I mean, originally the Senate Governmental Affairs Committee said they would meet on Wednesday morning to consider these 2 maps. They late on Monday afternoon changed their mind and said, we're going to come on Tuesday afternoon. But as my great-grandmother would say, what man does for bad, God does for good. And we forced them to keep their promise and actually have to hear and vote on those maps on Wednesday morning.
So we have 1 or 2 maps moving forward.
We have just one. The committee voted down in a 4-3. 4 Republicans, 3 Democrats, 4 white people, 3 black people against moving Senator Price's bill that created a 4-2 map, a 4 Republican, 2 Democratic map. And then they voted the same way, but in opposite directions to advance Senator Morris's Bill 121, which would create 5 white districts, 5 Republican districts, and then 1 black Democratic district as the only now bill that will make its way to the Senate floor.
But these can change.
Things can change. We saw last night, and one of the most unconventional things that I've seen, and I've been around the Capitol for almost 20 years, Senator Morris introduced an amendment to move around the districts, and every time that an amendment is filed or a redistricting bill is filed, you get your demographic information. You get how many people live within each district, how many people are registered in the district based off of Democrat, Republican, whatnot. You get how many what we would call voting age population, or VAP, how many people within the district are of voting age. And then you also always get your racial demographic to say this is what percent the district would be based off of racial lines. For the first time in at least my history and some of the other people who had been in the Capitol, that demographic break sheet, for some odd reason, excluded the racial composition. So we can't truly tell you right now what the racial composition of the districts that is now advancing are, because Senator Morris and the Republican majority just excluded that information from the public.
Well, was that not the point of this Supreme Court decision, that race cannot be a factor? And so did those guys in Baton Rouge decide that what we're not even going to do is put race into the discussion? Is that what they were angling for?
Well, I mean, I think maybe, but let's be very clear.
Oh no, I'm not saying they were even right. I'm just kind of going, if that was the strategy.
No, I mean, I think that's what they're trying to confuse people.
Right,
The Supreme Court said race can't be the predominant factor. It still upholds, even though I think they killed it, it still upholds the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act that says race can be a factor, but it's very hard to see if it's a predominant factor, because let's be very clear. A racial gerrymander is just not when you make a black district. You can prove a racial gerrymander if for some odd reason in a state that's third black, that you create an 82% white district. So I think they're kidding themselves while how the race is only used when it is in favor of minority communities. But all of a sudden, when they make a plurality or a majority or a supermajority white district, it wasn't race, it was partisanship. And it shows the secular argument and the fallacy that they have in how they are trying to describe what they're doing.
Well, it looks like, to me, we're looking at opportunity districts for black people and guaranteed districts for white people. How come we can't have 2 guaranteed districts for black people and 4 guaranteed districts for white people? And I think I could make an argument that we really need 2.5 to 3, but this is where we are with as it's drawn. It looks like this would keep a Troy Carter 2nd district, do away with a Cleo Fields 6th district, and reducing us once again from 2 to 1 in terms of representation.
You're absolutely right, Will. I mean, let's be very clear. The Supreme Court never said in Louisiana you can't have 2 minority districts. Louisiana, you can't have 2 Democratic districts. Louisiana, you can't have 2 opportunity districts, whether opportunity by race or opportunity by party. They never said that. They said this map that you currently operate is unconstitutional. And what I want everyone to remember, this is the map that Jeff Landry, Liz Murrill, and the MAGA Republican majority picked. The vast majority of the Black Caucus and the Democratic Caucus and redistricting and voting rights advocates all supported in that special session a different map. Jeff Landry said, this is the only one I would support. This is the one that I want. This is the only one I'm going to sign, and that's the only bill they let through. So it's very funny how all of a sudden the map that 28 of the senators voted for, the majority of the House voted for, the governor signed into law, the Secretary of State implemented, the Attorney General defended in court multiple times. Now all of a sudden they're like, well, you know what? That map was so bad. It was so bad because it was a racial gerrymander, but they're not even considering what they're doing and how they are utilizing race. And I think this is the challenge that the Supreme Court issued, which is so problematic, is this idea that you can divorce race from partisanship. In the South particularly, race and partisanship are one and the same. So you cannot continue to have this lie that somehow you are being race neutral and drawing your map because you're drawing Republican districts, because in the South, if you draw a Republican district, you are therefore drawing a white district because there's no Republican that represents a minority community here. There's no minority as a Republican in office at a statewide level, or congressional level, or the state legislative level. So it's time for them to kid themselves of this game that they're attempting to play by trying to be cute here and saying, well, black people in Shreveport and Baton Rouge are not a community of interest, but white people in East Feliciana and West Feliciana and Ouachita, well, y'all are a community of interest.
Okay, I know you've got to go. We've got to go. But before you go, there are a lot of people who are fired up all over this state. What can they do today, tomorrow? What can they do to before this comes up again? And when should people show up at the state capitol, if we know?
Well, first, I would tell everybody, make sure you have a plan to vote on Saturday. This is our first sign and our first test to show them that we are engaged and we are not defeated. So everybody remember, voting is on May 16th, Saturday. You can go from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. But if not, stay tuned. We don't know when this bill will be scheduled on the Senate floor. We are hearing potentially on Thursday, but we will follow everybody. And then if not, then we have another fight on when this bill crosses the chambers and goes over to the House side. We have to go through all those hearings all over again.
All right. You better be sure that WBOK and the Good Morning Show will be all over this. So keep us informed. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Lord's blessings. Have a great day. Hope you managed to get a few hours of sleep.
Thank you. I'm off to go represent y'all all on the commission at 9 o'clock. So
all right.
I'll do it after that.
All right. Very good. Have a great day. All right, folks, we got to go to break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking with folks from the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities. They've got some interesting and fascinating stories to share, projects to talk about, especially their Humanities Primetime program. If you're not familiar with LEH, you should be, and you're going to learn some more from them after this. I know a lot of people want to weigh in on this redistricting thing, and so we'll try to make some time. So either hang in there or call later, because we got to get to this LEH piece right now after the break. That talk line number is
504-582-9422.
This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
WBOK New Orleans, home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Former Vice President Kamala Harris sharply criticized President Trump and the war with Iran during remarks in Las Vegas.
He's dangerous. He talked about obliterating, and then he said, oh, he did. It's all just...
Speaking to Nevada Democrats, Harris voiced strong opposition to the administration's approach as she continues to signal she may consider another presidential run. Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry is defending the state's congressional redistricting after a Supreme Court ruling struck down a majority black district. Speaking on 60 Minutes, Landry said the map must be fixed, even as Democrats push to use it in this year's midterms. And Mary J. Blige is extending her Las Vegas residency after a sold-out opening weekend. 10 new shows have been added at Park MGM from late August through October. Tickets for the new dates are on sale now. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
morning, good morning, good morning, New Orleans, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show right here at WBOK 1230 a.m. I'm Will Sutton, and I'm here with Paula Williams-Madison.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning, my good sister. Good to have you with me. I'm really glad that you were here for these last couple of conversations.
Well,
Dynamic.
Thank you for inviting me. Fortunately, you're talking about stuff that I kind of know a little bit
Just
about.
a little bit.
And I'm highly interested in, including what's coming up.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what's coming up, we're going to be talking about the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities with Miranda Restovich, who is the president and executive director. Still? Yes?
Still.
All right. Okay. And also executive director of Primetime. Very happy to have you with us. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me, both of you.
Good morning.
And have you been to WBOK before?
I believe I have, but it might have been a little bit.
Well, welcome to this studio, because we were over in Gentilly before.
That's
We've
right.
been at Xavier University for the last few years. So there are sometimes people who have been on before, but they haven't necessarily been at this campus location. But let's jump to LEH. And I'll segue by saying both Paula and I have journalists and media backgrounds, but we are arts people.
Great.
Okay, we are arts people.
You're my people.
Yeah, right, absolutely. And Paula is married to an artiste, and I am married to a art curator.
Wow.
Okay, and we both have collections.
Amazing.
All right, and so I just want to give you a little background about who you're talking to.
No, that's great.
Okay.
People who have art in their homes are very
Yes.
special, just like books.
Right.
You have books
Right.
and art.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You are the best kind of human.
You know, so I just want to give you that little background and context
Okay,
as we
great.
dive in, because you say humanities to us, then we know what we're talking about.
Great.
We
I'm
love
so
this
glad.
stuff. Okay. But for our WBOK family of listeners, what are the humanities, and what is the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities?
Yeah, great question. So, the humanities are those fields of study that really help us understand who we are as humans, what our history is, what our traditions and values, how we came to be the way that we are today. And so, traditionally, if you go to a school of humanities at Xavier University or another university, you might be studying history or political science or religious history. But the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities is the statewide organization that is really trying to bring those humanistic and humanities programs to the general public. So to attend one of our programs, you don't have to be enrolled at a university. You just have to show up at your library or your local community center or at your museum, because public humanities programs are all of those programs in our communities that help us understand what our communities are about, what we value, how we express ourselves. So the difference between the arts and the humanities is the art is the artifact, but the humanities really help us understand who the artist is, what inspired them, what are they trying to tell us in that piece of art, what kind of history are they trying to express through that piece of art or that book or whatever it might be. So the humanities are actually a really exciting, it's the thing that really makes us understand who we are, which I think is invaluable.
So we've lived in different states in our careers and lives, and in pretty sure each of those states, there's been some kind of state-named arts and humanities or arts or humanities. Why do we have a endowment for the humanities in Louisiana? And what is similar to some of those other states? What's different with ours?
Oh, that's a great question. So actually, there is one of us in every state and territory. There's 56, what we call the state humanities councils. It was actually developed in 1965 as part of the establishment of the National Endowments for the Arts and the Humanities. And, it's actually a really beautiful democratized model for making sure that every state has an opportunity to express itself through the humanities. Now, I will say that because we are in Louisiana and this is our home, we are by far have an embarrassment of riches in the humanities. I mean, not only do we have a lot of complex and interesting history to understand and explore. But we have an embarrassment of sort of cultural riches that we can continuously document and celebrate, not just amongst ourselves, but actually share with the world. So dare I say the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities is the best of the councils, mainly because we represent Louisiana, and Louisiana is such an amazing place to be and to live.
Yeah, I think that one of the things for sure that you experience when you're here, and I've lived here as a full-time resident 1 year, but I've owned homes here for probably the last 35 years. My husband's a native. But one of the things that's apparent when you get here is, for example, when you land at the airport, right, you are immersed in whether it's art and sometimes live music. And certainly when you walk the streets of the downtown area and the quarter, you become enveloped, I'd say, in a richness. There's so much that goes on here that so many people who come from other places admire, and it's not just about drinking on Bourbon Street, right? There's an ethos that you feel for sure coming to New Orleans and Louisiana. The part that I was looking at in terms of the program that I think we were going to talk about today is this literacy program, and I am thoroughly fascinated by that. When I said I have an interest in it, because many years ago, I actually had a teaching degree in New York State. And so I am all in for having small children just overwhelmed by books and the opportunity to read and learn. So talk to us about that.
Oh, and this is how it connects back to the humanities, right? To really engage in the humanities today, in today's society, we really need to have a literate society, right? So literacy is foundational. And 35 years ago, the Louisiana Endowment for the Humanities did something really special, which is, we recognized then that Louisiana was suffering from an illiteracy epidemic. So it was connected to our poverty problem. And to combat that, we developed Primetime in partnership with superheroes like librarians and educators who were really on the front lines and understood what was happening, right? That we really needed to address what was happening in the home between the parents and the caregivers and the children, because if you can affect the home literacy environment, it's one of the strongest predictors for future success of young people. And so Primetime has been for 35 years, one of the longest running, continuously implemented intergenerational family literacy programs. And not only have we been doing it across all 64 parishes in Louisiana, we have actually exported this program to our sister councils in other states. So in some ways, Louisiana is leading the way in terms of how we really address this intergenerational illiteracy challenge that we have in our nation. And today, especially with so much, internet and so many devices that children are, exposed to so early on, how to bring back that idea that literacy and books are foundational and that families really need to engage around this very early on in order for students to be able to succeed later in life. So we are really proud of this program, and we were even recognized by the Library of Congress last year as the American Prize winner, which is one of the top awards that the Library of Congress gives for programs making an impact nationally on literacy. And this little program that was born right here in Louisiana, that's been like the little engine that could, continuously delivering 35 years and running, got one of the highest honors in the nation.
Well, congratulations. Wow. That's a big deal. We won't go into all the details, but let's just say not just anybody gets that award.
There's just one a year.
Yeah, right. So to be on that list, that short list, that's an amazing achievement and something that you all should be proud of. And we thank you for the work that you do along these lines. So with Primetime, my guess is, if I'm wrong, just diplomatically correct.
Okay.
But I suspect that there are a number of people who are listening and others who are actually taking advantage of prime time, but they might not recognize it as prime time.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us more about that connection of what prime time looks like in Orleans and Southern Louisiana and across the 64 pack.
Absolutely. So again, I mentioned that it's a family-focused, sort of community-driven enterprise. And our methodology is actually really beautiful and simple. This program is a 6-week program that happens at libraries, schools, community centers, churches. It is literally a turnkey model that any environment that feels safe for families and that is interested in improving literacy can host the program. We always start with a meal. And it's not just because we're in Louisiana and food is important, but it is because mealtime is an incredible opportunity if we take the time to sit down around a dinner table with our families to actually have discussions. And so it's very foundational. We start with a meal, and then we move into story sharing. So our cadre of amazing heroes, librarians and scholars and authors help us select high-quality picture books, children's books, that are part of the program that families get to keep. And we do a lot of read-aloud modeling of how do you engage children in telling stories. And then we use the Socratic method to engage children in discussions that are really not focused on sort of the didactics of like, who's the main character, what's the beginning, middle, and end, but it's really about those big ideas. We're trying to get at those critical thinking skills. So we're asking open-ended questions. We're focusing on themes like community and resilience and individuality. And then for the little ones, so we have a model that's for preschoolers, 3 to 5 years old, and the original program was designed for 6 to 10-year-olds. But the preschool model incorporates play-based learning because we know that littles have a lot of wiggles and they can't necessarily sit down for 60 minutes and read and discuss, but they will continue to express their thoughts and ideas about a book through play. Sure. And so what we're doing in our program is really modeling and training parents how to be their child's first and lifelong educator. And we do that by modeling. We don't do that like, some programs or some initiatives that are really like, let's sit the parent down and give them a workshop and tell them what they're supposed to be doing. We're actually doing it with them. So establishing that routine, that new routine we want to see in the home, and showing them that it's easy. They can absolutely do this.
I think one of the things that should happen is that we should talk about how some parents have come to believe that children learn to read in school, when in fact, parents can take children to the library or sit at home with the child on your lap and read, so that by the time school occurs, that child already has an introduction to reading and a love for reading. Libraries, I know, in LA, here's another thing about me you didn't know. I was library commissioner in LA. Yeah. And a part of what I think is beautiful is that public libraries have a wealth of resources, information, and particularly in this time, I who came out of television, where children are exposed to so much video and touching screens and so forth, but to actually have them also be able to turn the pages of a book and sound out the words before they get to school helps them when they are in school not be afraid of reading aloud.
Absolutely.
Which in my husband's case, for example, he said when he was a kid, he was terrified of that because he didn't always, let's say dyslexia played a role in it, but he couldn't always. And so at some points, it's so helpful to have parents educated, and I think that's what your program is doing, is helping them understand, get an early start.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said it right. We say all the time, literacy begins in a lap. It can never start too early.
Yeah.
And I think the other part about that tangible book being present in the home, one of the models, we actually tweaked this model. The model started as we would loan books to families. So it was almost like they were going to just another library program. About 10, 15 years ago, when I started with the program, we actually changed our model and families keep the books.
Yeah.
So
That's
that really, because, I was a young mom at the time, and I just remembered how my son would return to the same book over and over again. It was almost like his security blanket. And that's another piece, like when children really feel like they own that artifact, they become more attached to it and they return to it over. Like at some point, I thought my son could read, but he actually just memorized Goodnight Moon because we read it so many times over and over again. And I got excited. I was like, oh, he's 2, he can read. No, he just memorized it, but it was great because
Sets the stage.
It set the stage, and he was really excited about that.
So you've been doing this program for a long time, but a few years ago there was actually a study to look at impact and results. Tell us about that.
Well, we actually, I think it was just last week, we published a new landmark study that really looked at our primetime preschool program, which again was an iteration and an innovation on the original model, which was for 6 to 10-year-olds. We saw the 6 to 10-year-old program really working, but then we said, well, what about going even younger? And, a lot of people said, oh, humanities and big ideas, you can't discuss them with 3-year-olds. And I said, let's give it a shot. So we developed the Primetime Preschool program, which again works with, we go into childcare centers, libraries, Head Start programs, anywhere where our families with young children are, we will deliver the program. And that landmark study took 5 years of data of nearly 1,000 children participants and looked at our children who participate in the primetime program with their families getting ahead of their peers. And the landmark study said, yes, our children who participate in primetime and their families, more importantly, who commit that time to participate in a 6-week after-school program, finish preschool ahead of their peers. And it's not just by a small margin. They finish, if it's equivalent to if you had a student end in the 50th percentile, children who participated in primetime with their families could finish as higher as up to 65th or 70th percentile. So that's 20 percentile points higher than their peers just by creating this at-home literacy environment. So we're really proud of this. It's just another notch in the proof that we already had that the program works.
That's great to hear. I love reading. I love to see young kids reading. I love to see adults reading. There are too many adults who look at it as, that was for school, I did it.
Yeah.
My assignments. And for whatever reason, they didn't make the connection to enjoyment and learning and continuous education with reading, especially as a newspaper columnist. I like when people read, and I certainly like them to read my columns, but I like them to read generally. We were talking earlier about some of the things going on in Baton Rouge. We were talking about economics and the connection between federal policy, state policy, and all. But some of that you get by reading, not watching a 20 or 30-second clip. You get that from reading. And if you don't have some of these basics, then you're not wired to see that as something valuable. And I think it's reading is so important for our democracy, because all we have to do is look at history and see where illiterate folks cared about things, but they didn't digest it in the same way as people who were more learned and who were readers, because they weren't able to take it in themselves.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the founding phrases that established the National Endowments for the Arts and the Humanities is that democracy demands wisdom of its people. And wisdom comes not just from lived experience, and we don't want to ignore that. Lived experience is really important. But wisdom also comes from engaging in lifelong learning. And a lot of that can happen if you expose yourself to the written word.
Absolutely.
And I think that, that's another reason why this program is so foundational to us at the LEH and why we have invested in it for 35 years. We could be doing any number of other things, and we do, do a number of other things.
Lots
and lots. But the reason that more than 50% of our budget is dedicated to education programming is because it is foundational. And we want to live in a world where the humanities are accessible. We want to live in a world where people know how to have discourse. We want to live in a world where people feel like they have access to information. And I think, this is one little way that we are trying to plant those seeds through the Primetime program.
Outstanding.
Wonderful. So how can people find out more about LEH? How can they find out more about Primetime? What if they have a nephew, a niece, a child, a grandson who maybe should be involved? How can they find these outlets and connect with you and your team?
Well, Primetime is such a big, monumental, long-standing program that it has its own dedicated website. It's called primetimefamily.org. On that website, on June 1st, we will be announcing our fall program sites. So these are locations all across the state and across, potentially as many as 30 parishes in a single setting, in a single cycle, where families can see if there's a program nearby that they can sign up for. Families, this is a free program for families. Families do not have to pay to attend. They just have to show up. So June 1st, fall programs are going to be announced, so families can check out the website there. We are also distributing 1,000 Primetime boxes this summer for families. These are actually a program in a box. So when the pandemic hit, and this program for as many years as it's been around is an in-person program. When the pandemic hit and we couldn't do in-person programs, we didn't just say, okay, let's just wait for the pandemic to be over. We converted the program into a box that was delivered directly in the homes of families. And the beautiful part about that is that we developed a grown-up guide so that the parents can essentially mimic and assume the role of the scholar and the storyteller in the program. So we actually guide the parent how to do this at home by themselves with their little ones. And so we're distributing 1,000 of these boxes across the state, and the website will have distribution sites for that as well. So that's definitely something that is quick and coming.
All right. So you have to show up to be able to get a box.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Again, in person. All right. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Great information about LEH and in particular Primetime. Check out that website, primetimefamily.org, for all of the news and information and the locations. And don't forget, something's coming up very soon, June 1, for the fall programming across many of these 64 parishes. Thank you so much for coming in. And again, thank you for the work that you all do. I know I don't remember if I've ever seen you, but I have to tell you, I've seen LEH.
Oh, wonderful. Well, you don't have to see me. You just have to see the LEH.
It takes a team.
It does.
And those folks are out there, and they're doing good work, and I appreciate the work that they are doing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Lord's blessings. Have a great day. Folks, we're going to have to go to a break. And I know there's you all just chomping at the bit. Talk about redistricting and the clerk thing. But we're going to hear a little bit about DBI before we get to that. But you can call back and get on the phone. We haven't forgot you. We just have things that we need to do today. So, Paula Madison, what's that phone number?
Yes, sir. It's 504-582-9422.
This is WBOK, 1230 a.m. What New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Wednesday morning, I'm Daryl Forgis with WDSU News, and here's your headlines. After a marathon meeting that wrapped up at around 4:30 this morning, a Senate committee just passed Senate Bill 121 out of committee. This coming after they struck down one of the proposed congressional maps earlier this morning. Senate Bill 121 by Jay Morris passed with a 4-3 vote. It would keep one majority black district, that would be Troy Carter's. Passionate protesters rallied throughout the day Tuesday, saying they want the new map to reflect all demographics. The controversy of the clerk of court office continues, as Chelsea Napoleon is now suing several leaders over the future of her seat. This comes a day after Mayor Helena Moreno and the city council called for a special election and appointed Calvin Johnson as interim clerk. Johnson says he made Napoleon deputy clerk. Louisiana State Police have agreed to a tentative $4.8 million settlement with the family of Ronald Green. Green died during a violent roadside arrest carried out by 5 officers back in 2019. The settlement would end a federal wrongful death lawsuit filed by the family of Green, whose death drew national attention after videos show Louisiana State Police officers punching, kicking, and using stun guns outside the city of Monroe. The settlement now has to be approved by state lawmakers. And the NFL will unveil the full schedule of international games for the upcoming season, which includes a Saints game in Paris. Various media outlets like The Athletic report the Black and Gold will take on the Pittsburgh Steelers in the City of Light. The Saints have not confirmed this, by the way, but according to the reports, the game will be played on Sunday, October 25th in the stadium that hosts the closing ceremony at the 2024 Paris Olympics. I'm Daryl Forges, and that's your headlines for WBOK.
Late nights are made for chilling, and you can do just that every Sunday night at 10 p.m. as DJ Wick brings you The Love Zone. It's the perfect way to top off your weekend with your favorite old and new school ballads. So sit back, relax, and let DJ Wick take you to the Love Zone on WBOK and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
The warm and dry trend begins for the rest of the week. Today we'll see highs 82 to 86 degrees. Mostly sunny skies eventually for us. Also slightly lower humidity. Some of us will be able to notice that. No rain is expected. Then as we get to tonight, lows falling to the 60s for your Thursday into the weekend. Also looking at the mid to close to some upper 80s. Could even see upper 80s, low 90s for next week. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Missed a show? Want to hear that guest everyone's talking about? WBOK is now streaming on all your favorite podcast apps. Just search WBOK Media, hit download, share with a friend, and don't forget to rate your favorite shows 5 stars. Because when our voices are heard, our impact grows.
Life has a way of shifting priorities, changing needs, and pivoting plans. Home Bank is there for all of them. Their bankers partner with you for every step along the way, from understanding your needs to celebrating your success. Home Bank is invested in the vibrant spirit of our community and in you. So partner with them. Stop on by any banking center in the greater New Orleans area or visit home24bank.com to get started today. Good for business, good for life. Home Bank, a member of the FDIC.
City Park is where to go when you don't know where to go. Turn towards the city center and start walking. Before long, you'll end up where you belong, at the heart of the city, New Orleans City Park. Stroll along the reeded marsh, wander through the sculpture garden, rest and recharge beneath ancient oak trees. This is where your spirit goes to grow. It's in our nature to yearn for nature. NewOrleansCityPark.org, heart of the city.
I'm Cynthia Willard Lewis, and I encourage you to vote Nick Alvarez. He will protect Louisiana families and fight for lower health care costs for everyone. Vote Nick for U.S. Senate.
I'm Nick Alvarez, and I approve this message.
Looking for a great deal on your next phone? Come see us at your locally owned AT&T store for the latest Samsung and iPhones. Visit us at 3616 South Carrollton Avenue. We have great offers on watches, tablets, accessories, and internet service. Whatever your connectivity needs are, our team is here to help you keep connected. Visit us today at AT&T, 3616 South Carrollton Avenue. Locally owned and proudly giving back to the community.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, New Orleans, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I'm Will Sutton. I'm here with Paula Madison. Fascinating conversation about prime time and raising up some early readers so they can get prepared for school and beyond. It is 8:41 a.m. There's still school zone speed limit time until 9. So if you're around those schools on this hump day, please slow down. We want the babies and the kiddos to get where they need to go in school. And if you're driving around the schools, that's the speed zone limit of 20 miles per hour. You got some place to be at 8:45. You got about 5 minutes, maybe 3 at this point. And you just need to make sure you get there safely. Don't be one of the crazy drivers, and let those other folks be careful. Watch out for them. Do some defensive driving and watch out for the kids. Appreciate all the bus drivers and the assistant principals on transportation duty this morning. Thank you all for the work that you do at this time of the day. Very happy to say that we've got Dominique Jones-Johnson on the line, the founder and executive director of DBI. And good morning, Dominique. It's Will Sutton and Paula Madison. How are you? Hello? Okay, are you there?
Me?
Hi there, are you there?
Yes. Can you
Hi,
hear me?
Dominique, Will Sutton, and Paula Madison. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you all doing?
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us. You all do some incredible work helping with kids of incarcerated parents. And this is Violence Prevention Week. Tell us, first of all, for those who don't remember, a little bit about DBI, and then talk about what's happening this week.
So Daughters Beyond Incarceration is a nonprofit that works to support girls ages 8 to 18 that have a currently or formerly incarcerated parent and reside in Louisiana. We work to support them through our after-school program that supports their mental health, restorative healing, youth development, and their education, as well as our youth policy program, where we pay high school students from New Orleans and Baton Rouge $3,000 from January to June, and we teach them the criminal justice process, the legislative process, know your rights, and voting. And we've been doing that for about 8 years now. Actually, our birthday is Friday, so Friday will be our 8th year.
Happy birthday. Well, I'll
Thank
tell
you,
you what,
thank
if you can get it going and then keep it for a year and then keep it for 3 years, hit that 7-year mark, you're on to something. And so
I appreciate it.
Congratulations for keeping that going. So let's jump to what is happening this week, and why do we even have something called the Youth Prevention Week?
So violence in New Orleans is at an all-time high, especially violence that is surrounded by our young people. And what we don't know is why. I mean, a lot of people have their reasons and their issues about what they believe why youth are, connecting with crime, but we truly have not really heard from our youth to understand what is happening. And so Violence Prevention Week is a way that we pull together youth from across Louisiana to do just that. On Monday, we brought students from Lafayette, Lake Charles, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans together to stand in front of the Capitol to discuss their issues. And some of their topics range from immigration, education, social determinants of health like lack of housing and support and food support. But it also talked about violence and the fact that because we don't have the things that we mentioned, violence is going to steadily increase. Wednesday, they're going to release a podcast where they're speaking with a formerly incarcerated person from Washington, D.C. named is Coley LeVar, who's going to share how things don't look so different from where he's from as compared to New Orleans. And it's happening across the world. The youth are not being listened to and they're not being heard. And so in turn, we have an increase in violence. And you have a slew of people saying it starts at home when nobody really understands what the home looks like. And so Friday, we're giving adults an opportunity to shift from problem solvers to listeners, and they can listen to the students in our audience. They will be able to listen to students talk about the criminal justice reform and how exposing failure and naming injustices in their communities have changed them, but also how it has hurt them. You know, everybody loves black girls, but when black girls get up to speak, it's a problem. And so we're going to create a space for our little black girls and boys and young people of color to speak without a problem.
So, good week of activities. Really glad to hear that you all were in Baton Rouge. That's so important to not just talk about it and be about the business, but to get the attention of legislators and others there. Friday's opportunity with the Fireside Chat. Where is that? What time? And how much does it cost?
It is free to get in, but you can always donate to our organization because we pay for our students to be picked up from their homes or their schools, brought to our office, and brought back home safely. That's the way that we hold ourselves accountable, ensuring that our children get to where they need to be safely. The event starts at 5 p.m. It's over at 7 p.m. There'll be some Q&A dialogues before and after where the adults can connect with our young people and ask them questions about what they like about the org and what their role is in the org. Because a lot of people don't know that DBI is youth-led, and they think that our youth don't really know what it is we're doing and why.
And where's the location?
It is on the boulevard, 2129 Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard, right on the corner of Aretha Castle Haley and Jackson. And you can't miss the building. It's got pictures of beautiful black girls on the outside.
All right.
Dominique, how do you find the young girls who join your program? Where are you recruiting them from?
David, they find us.
Okay.
They find us. They find us from their friends, their schools, and most of the time they're incarcerated parents. My father is still on his 43rd year of a life sentence, and at least 2 to 3 times a week he is calling me to give me a young girl's information. Last week he called and gave me a girl information in Ohio, and I'm like, Daddy, I can't do nothing with her in Ohio. But that's just how, that's how it works. We partner very heavily with Ms. Principal Tawana Floyd at Douglas, and so we have our highest amount of students are from Douglas.
And the program you mentioned earlier, where over a certain period of months, where you pay them $3,000, how does that work, and how do they become eligible for that?
So you have to have had a parent that is currently or formerly incarcerated, and you have to be a high school student, not graduating or not have graduated, I'm sorry. And you have to reside in Baton Rouge or New Orleans. We host an application process in the fall, and the students are selected right before Christmas and Thanksgiving break, and then they travel to D.C. in January to give a workshop on creating safe spaces for children impacted by incarceration.
Wow.
Wonderful.
And they get a free business suit and a free laptop, and they travel for free. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's quite a program.
Yes.
That sounds wonderful.
That's great.
Thank you.
For those who are interested in attending the Friday Fireside Chat at 5 p.m. at your headquarters location, or just to find out more about the wonderful work that you're doing, how can they contact you or DBI?
They can call our office cell phone, which is 504-255-5573. They can follow us on all social media platforms, at DBI NOLA. Our website is dbinola.org.
Wonderful.
That's about it.
Okay. Well, that's a good end. Well, thank you, Dominique, for joining us this morning and sharing about what you all are doing on this special week and that wonderful event coming up on Friday. Again, thank you for the work that you and your team do. So important. And I love how you have the youth involved, not just to be helped, but to lead and to develop knowledge about life and the process. Because
and a lot of people,
go ahead.
And a lot of people don't understand that youth will do. They're interested in the work that you're doing. You just have to teach them about it and teach them how it affects their lives. So when people come to the event, they'll see how our students discuss what does true accountability look like for individuals that are impacted by the justice system, and why should everybody in our city and state care about building a better system. And you'll see our youth discuss and explore that.
Wonderful. Lord's blessings. Have a great day. We look forward to hearing more from you. Thank you so much, Dominique.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Bye. All right. Look, folks, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to take some of your calls. I know you all got some things on your heart, on your head. A lot of people fired up about the recall, about the clerk drama, about redistricting. So what is that number, Ms. Paula?
504-582-9422.
This is WBOK, 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
New Orleans, are you ready for a voice that says what you're thinking? Who that, you might ask? Arrington Gavin. That's right, I'm your guy, host of the Arrington Gavin Show, giving you so much filled with bold opinions, real conversations, and zero sugarcoating. We're going to be diving into the issues that matter, politics, pop culture, and all the above, unfiltered and unafraid. Catch the Arrington Gavin Show weeknights from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., Monday through Fridays, right here on WBOK, what New Orleans is talking about.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another open enrollment update. Who do I have on the line today?
Hi, you're speaking with Vanessa Scott of BSG of Louisiana.
Can you tell us a little bit about what is open enrollment?
The open enrollment period is for Medicare members that want to change from one plan to another.
Why is open enrollment so important?
Because a lot of people missed out on the annual enrollment period, so they need to have a one-on-one review.
And if you have questions or concerns about your Medicare plans, what should you do?
You just pick up the phone, call 504-621-3687. We even come out to your house. Zero cost to them.
Get with BSG of Louisiana for your Medicare review. For church groups, senior communities, or disability organizations, call 504-621-3687. We are an independent insurance agency providing information about Medicare-related insurance plans. We are not connected or endorsed by Medicare or the U.S. government.
Greetings and salutations. I am Edward B. Coulon Smith, chairman of the board of the New Orleans Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. We'd like to invite you to tune in every Wednesday at 12 noon on WBOK to listen in on Black to Business and be a part of the movement that's going on. Thank you.
A careless driver can change your life in an instant. Do you know what to do or who to call? If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident and do not have an attorney, call Auto Accident Help Desk for a free consultation. We can answer all of your questions and estimate the potential value of your case. Call Auto Accident Help Desk and connect with an expert personal injury attorney.
Call 800-269-4524. 800-269-4524.
Don't worry how to handle your medical bills, lost wages, and pain. We will get you the money you deserve.
They got me way more than the insurance company offered.
The consultation is free, and you do not pay any legal fees unless we win or settle your case. Make the smart call. If you've been injured in an auto accident, call Auto Accident Help Desk for a free legal consultation.
Call 800-269-4524. 800-269-4524. 800-269-4524.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, New Orleans, and welcome back to the Good Morning Show. It is 8:55 a.m., 5 more minutes on this hump day for school zone speed limit, 20 miles per hour. Please drive safely, get our babies and our kiddos off to school. I'm Will Sutton. I'm here with Paula Madison. We're going to the phone line for the patient, Reverend Calhoun. Good morning, Reverend Calhoun. You're on Will Sutton and Paula Madison.
Good morning to all. Doc, I'm just really, due to time, what we're trying to do now is reach out to every church, every community, and have a volunteers for the recall. You just can't go sign a document.
Nope.
There needs to be some instructions on how to do that. But what we're looking is to get some people that we can certify to be across the city to do that sign in and registration for the recall. So if anybody is interested, you can have them give me a call at 504-606-2603, because I'm trying to understand how we got to keep trying to solve Baton Rouge problems, because their racist underwear is showing again. So that's where we are. And again, I want to give some opportunity to somebody else to call in. But if anybody is interested in becoming a certified register for the recall, please have them give me a call, Will.
All right. Now, Reverend Calhoun, before we let you go, please give your phone number again, since you're willing to do that, so that anybody who missed it, they have another shot at getting that number. And then tell us, what does it mean to be certified? I can't go and get a clipboard and help. I mean, so what does it mean to be certified? What's your phone number?
Area code 504-606-2603. But to be certified, or to make sure that you're registering people that are registered to vote, number one. And we also at this time, if you're not registered, we will register you. But you need to know how to make sure you are looking at the identification for that person, as well as their status in being registered as a registered voter. You also need to go through the people that filed this complaint. So you just can't get a document and a piece of paper and go do that. You have to bring all this information back to those people that initiated the recall.
Right. So
that's why we don't want people signing documents and they're going to be thrown in the trash.
Yeah, and think they're helping, and it's just a waste of time. Yep. Well, thank you so much. Always enlightening. Thank you for calling this morning.
But I still understand how this racism is not a factor in this redistricting and all of that. If we look at it, it's definitely along racial. What it was, 4-3.
That's correct.
All right.
4 Republicans, 3 Democrats, 4 white people, 3 black people. But no race.
All right. We got a real problem.
Absolutely. And it's going to continue to develop. And you better believe we're going to deal with this some more on tomorrow's Good Morning Show, Reverend Calhoun. So I know you'll be staying tuned, and we'll probably have a little bit more time for some calls as well. Lord's blessings, sir. And thank you so much. Have a blessed day. Folks, we got to get out of here. I'm Will Sutton, and with Paula Madison. Stay tuned for Kimba on the Front Porch coming up right after the Good Morning Show. And after that, we'll have Tyler Smiley. And at 4 p.m., Reality Check with Gerard G-Man Stevens right here on WBOK. This is WBOK 1230 a.m. what New Orleans is talking about all day long.